deck of choice?
Well, there's a lot to pull from here. The mana has gotten a lot better for red-green beatdown decks here because of the fetch lands and the new dual lands. On top of that, you have McKindy, Slide Runner, Scythe Leopard, and Snapping Gnarlid if you want it. Now, Ryan is only playing with the first two, the Leopard and the Slide Runner, but that alongside Retreat to Valakut makes a very powerful landfall base.
Monastery of Swiftspear is where Grebe is going to start. Thompson already down to 19. Thompson with our first brand new card of the day. Just a boring old land there in Sunken Hollow, but it will enter the battlefield tapped. Thompson going to go down to 18 now from the Swiftspear. We'll see what the follow-up is here for Grebe. He'll sacrifice a Windswept Heath. And now he's got the Slide Runner.
This is a very, very good threat for landfall strategies, obviously. Also something powerful alongside Become Immense because it has Trample.
Yep.
Now, I don't believe there's any copies of Become Immense in Ryan's list this weekend, but you could easily play 1 or 2 copies, especially with more incentive to play fetch lands because you have all these landfall threats to choose from.
Prairie Stream is where Thompson will end his second turn. So one of the things about these Bring to Light decks and 5-color decks in general in this format, I think you're going to be out of the gate a little bit slow like this sometimes.
You are going to see a lot of openings here of land that comes into play tapped, land that comes into play tapped. And unlike last year, or last week even, you're not scrying off of these lands that come into play tapped.
Yep.
The upside is later on in the game, you are playing on curve, and it's very easy with these lands alongside fetch lands to have any mixture of mana you're really looking for.
Slide Runner, along with the Swiftspear, going to come across there for 3. Thompson going to fall down to 15. Another Slide Runner there for Grebe, and he'll pass the turn back. You'll note that Ryan did not have a land to play. Of course, if he had one, he would have played it.
Well, it looks like he's actually slow rolling here.
Okay.
And keeping a fetch land back in his hand, which I like a lot. He plays the second Slide Runner. Now, next turn, he gets 2 landfall triggers. And he's got a couple 4/3s in the face of the 2/2 Nissa that Gerry just played.
Thompson does play a copy of Nissa, Vastwood Seer, searches up a basic forest with the Windswept Heath and with the Nissa. See Gerry showing off, looks like some of the new Zendikar lands here. One thing about Gerry, I know you're not the flashiest guy. You like your old school cards.
I am subtle. It's flash in a different way.
Sure. Gerry likes his different language cards.
Yes.
Some of the brand new lands. Loves textless lands.
Right.
And we'll see if Grebe, it looks like he does have a Foothills in hand. So this could be a pretty big attack.
Another thing to keep in mind about these landfall decks now is Atarka's Command's much maligned put a land into play mode is a real thing. You can pump your creatures, put a land into play out of your hand. That's another landfall trigger. If that land happens to be a fetch land, that's another landfall trigger.
You mean like everything that's happening right now?
Yep.
So this is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Because this before was not really a line of text on the card, and now it appears to be a line of text in a big way, as Grebe is going to put Wooded Foothills onto the battlefield. That'll trigger the Slide Runners. Now he's going to sacrifice the Foothills, get a copy of Cinderglade, which will enter the battlefield untapped. That'll trigger the landfall. So this is a pretty healthy attack here from Ryan. And also that's a spell from Monastery of Swiftspear's prowess.
Yes.
I've seen worse turns.
A lot going on here.
Yes, I've seen worse turns.
I don't know if this is a turn 4 kill, but if not, we are quite close. Depends exactly on what modes here Grebe has selected with the Atarka's Command.
Yeah, we'll get confirmation on the modes. Now, this looks like it's all taking place before blockers, so Thompson is inclined to block here because I don't think he wants to die. And if it's not a lethal attack, it is certainly pretty close. The follow-up is the Leopard. So now, if you're Thompson, you need a card like Languish right now.
And he has only 1 basic in play, so it is not trivial for him to be able to do it, although with that Swamp, Gerry has the Languish and has stabilized this game for the time being.
However, he is at 3. Now, one thing that decks like this are missing, the red-green landfall deck, you're really missing good burn spells. You know, this is a spot where Lightning Strike would have taken care of things previously.
You are down now to Wild Slash, which doesn't kill Thompson in this spot, and Atarka's Command.
Now Thompson's going to play Bring to Light. That's a Rhino.
Yep.
Hey, that's fun.
Thompson getting this turned around.
Yep. So keep in mind one thing with Bring to Light, and I think this is something that some people missed at the beginning. It felt like you could search for anything, but it's creature, instant, or sorcerer. So one thing you can't search for example, is an enchantment.
Right.
So can't forget about that. Now, I don't want to say a lot of the time, but it seems like a pretty heavy amount of the time, I suppose, you're going to find a Siege Rhino with this card.
Or a removal spell.
Sure.
I think that's going to be the two most common things.
So Rhino has shown up, Thompson up to 6, looking to stabilize the game.
And a card that can help Grebe a lot in this spot, it depends on what the leftovers are in Thompson's hand, of course. Retreat to Battle Cut is a nice addition for landfall and aggressive red strategies in general. The two modes, one of them is very good when your opponent has no blockers, which is +2/+0, and the other mode's very good when your opponent has blockers, which is target creature can't block this turn.
Yep. Both modes very good on that card. Here's a Polluted Delta. Let's see what the follow-up is for Thompson. Another copy of Bring to Light. Well, we might have another copy of Siege Rhino here. And that's the first card that Gerry's brought forward to his deck. It looks like he'll take another search here just to make sure that's what he wants to search for. But as he leaves through there, it might be time to go to 9, and it is. And now it feels like he may have stabilized this game.
Yep, he might be able to go on the offensive this turn, in fact.
And he is going on the offensive. So Siege Rhino's coming in the red zone. Thompson looking to turn the corner. Grebe's going to fall down to 8. No good blocks available. And things are looking very rough for Ryan now.
Yeah, facing lethal next turn.
And what we've seen here is kind of the power of the mana base here from Thompson, where, you know, you're unsure how many basics am I going to play. Like, it was very important on turn 4 for him to have a basic.
Yes.
To play Languish, and probably it'd be just literal swap instead of like Polluted Delta go to 2, potentially die to Wild Slash. Like, swamp, Languish, stabilize. You don't really have to worry about a haste creature very much, or a 3 damage burn spell. So he's in a pretty good spot right now.
So this is a Valid Cut Predator here from Grebe. This is the top of his curve.
This is another landfall creature for his deck.
And Looming Spire's the land drop, which appears to be a one of.
Thompson going to untap. 9-8's the score. Crux of Fate appears to be the draw. And the Rhinos are coming across.
Oh, excuse me, that's an Evolving Wilds as a one of.
Fair enough, fair enough. That's going to be a popular card.
Yeah.
Both in this strategy and in other strategies, given the crazy mana that's available now.
It's good with landfall. It's also pretty nice to play early on in the game, go fetch a basic, and then your new lands, your new dual lands are coming into play untapped much earlier in the game.
Now, one thing that's kind of unique about landfall is it's quite good on offense, but it's pretty good on defense right now, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Grebe is still in really dire straits here.
Well, if you're blocking in a situation like this, I don't think your chances of winning are pretty low,
Yep.
I would say.
But instant speed landfall triggers are at a premium, especially when they come at a relatively low cost. And the fetch lands make that very, very easy. And Evolving Wilds is not quite as efficient as Wooded Foothills and company, but if you want a 13th copy of that effect, totally reasonable. Here's
a triple block. Grebe's going to sacrifice that Evolving Wild, so you'll get a landfall trigger here in just a moment. That'll make all of these creatures a little bit bigger. You mentioned the Predator, the top of the curve here. Just one copy here in Grebe's deck list. Looks like Thompson does have a removal spell here in Murderous Cut. 1 mana, able to delve everything away.
And this is going to get all of Grebe's threats. And he's going to fall to a life total where both Siege Rhinos are lethal the following turn.
And after Thompson does shuffle and cut things, I think we're going to see all of Grebe's creatures hit the graveyard. A little bit of trample damage. Grebe going to fall a little bit lower here. And Gerry will sacrifice Polluted Delta. And I believe he has a copy of Ugin's Insight in hand. That's a one-of for him this weekend.
Okay. That's the new Jace's Ingenuity. Sorcery speed, but you scry for the cost of your highest permanent. Non-land.
Yep.
Not that, I mean, you'd scry for 0, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's going to go he's going to go with Bring to Light instead. I think another Rhino, yeah, just to solidify things here.
I really wish that the first game we had Bring to Light on camera displayed a little bit more of its versatility, you know? Can get removal spells, can get sweepers, you know? A lot. 3 Rhinos is a little bit of a disappointment.
Oh, you didn't want to see a Siege Rhino Brigade to start things off this morning, huh? As Ryan Grebe is going to concede the game. So Gerry Thompson, off the power of Bring to Light, cast 3 times to get 3 Siege Rhino. Does win game number 1 here over Ryan Grebe. 5 color Bring to Light up a game here over Red Green Landfall. It means we get to take a look at the sideboards here, which should be delightful because there's going to be some new cards hanging out. I'm going to let you start with Ryan's deck. He'll be on the play here for game 2.
A Draconic Roar, a Goblin Heel Cutter, a Roast, 2 Arc Lightnings, 2 Retreat to Kazandu, 2 Boiling Earth, 4 Outpost Siege, two undergrowth champions. I think we're going to see the 4 copies of Outpost Siege, the Roast, and the Heel Cutter come in. Outpost Siege pretty well situated for a longer game, and Heel Cutter and Roast are reasonable responses to Siege Rhino.
For Thompson, it's going to be a little bit wonky here. We got 2 Duresses, 3 copies of Radiant Flames. That's kind of the brand new Pyroclasm/Anger of the Gods effect. 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Encase in Ice, a Salumgar's Command, a Salumgar the Drifting Death, a Radiant Purge, an Anaffenza the Foremost, and then 2 copies of Ob Nicholas Reignited.
I am a huge fan of Radiant Flames in this matchup. And this is a spot where Radiant Flames, in my opinion, is better than Anger of the Gods for certain decks. It would not be easy for Thompson to reliably generate double red on the 3rd turn, but he can pretty easily set up red alongside 2 other colors of mana and cast something like Radiant Flames much earlier in the game. 2 copies of Encase in Ice, also great here.
Yeah, I like the options that Gerry has here as far as slowing, or to slow down an aggressive deck. He's got a pretty good package. Again, really what it comes down to is just, I think the land's kind of cooperating, and we have the pleasure of kind of taking a look at Gerry's deck list and his lands here, and we've got, let's see, 4 Deltas, 4 Flooded Strands, 2 Windswept Heaths, 3 Bloodstained Mires, so that's 4, 8, 9, 10, that's 13 fetches. And even a Wooded Foothills, so excuse me, let's make it 14 fetches. He's got 1 of each of these new lands, so a Canopy Vista, a Prairie Stream, a Smoldering Marsh, a Cinder Glade, and a Sunken Hollow. He's also found room for a Shambling Vent, and then some basics. So you have to imagine that he's taking some time to try to make this mana base work, and in that last game, it certainly did work.
And it's not the most intuitive thing on the planet, but the fetch lands alongside dual lands make a lot of things possible. We know that from watching Modern and certainly Legacy as well. The opportunity cost is a little bit higher, and there's more sensitivity on your sequencing because you want to make sure your lands are coming into play untapped at critical spots. But if you're looking to do any mixture of stuff, I think it's possible in the new format. I think Anaffenza is the type of card in this kind of matchup where it's an okay blocker, and in the abstract, I think Thompson would want it. But because it requires certain specific colors of mana to be fetched early on in the game, I think Thompson will not bring it in. I think that you need to make sure that you're not pressuring your mana in too many different directions, and I think being able to cast Radiant Flames early on in the game and not disrupt his top end is more powerful than trying to cast Anaffenza early on in the game and then not disrupt his top end.
Well, game number 2 will be underway here between Thompson and Grebe in just a moment. As I did say, Grebe will be on the play here with his landfall deck. But we're going to talk very quickly about Star City Games Game Night, the very popular promotion in which now our good friend that we have fought for so long here, the Hippo, is available.
And stores can set up Game Night any way that they want, any day of the week, sanctioned or unsanctioned. Just get players in your store for some fun and friendly magic. We send out these new pins and foils every single month. You see the October kit that's available right now. November coming down the pipeline in roughly 1 month. See the otter here. If you're looking to get signed up, you can head over to starcitygames.com/game night for more information. Contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
Now, the big question is, what's December?
I didn't know if we had it or not.
Oh, we do have it. You just don't know what it is.
Let's go. Hit me.
Boom. We have a reindeer.
That is great.
An 01 Caribou. Now, what makes 01 Caribou?
Caribou range.
Okay, see, I knew you would know right away, obviously. Just dialed it right up.
I think there's a land from Time Spiral block or something that also makes Caribou you can sack, but a Caribou range from Ice Age. If you play that, and I don't even know what Ice Age sealed, let's say, head over to Game Night in December, get your reindeer token.
Yeah, Caribou 01, not really much of a fighter.
No.
Tough to watch
They
there.
graze.
Tough to watch. Yeah, just hanging out. Got
Yeah.
some presents going on for December, but not really looking to battle with 0 power.
That is great.
Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment between Thompson and Grebe. We're watching New Standard here, and Bring to Light looking very powerful, but also Siege Rhino kind of flexing its muscles there.
And these are really the 2 decks I expected to see a lot of in week 1. We're going to see 4 and 5 color good stuff decks, some with Bring to Light, some that are just mixtures of good threats and removal. And either red splash a little bit of green beatdown or red-green landfall as the beatdown deck of choice.
Now, this isn't the only way that you can give beatdowns in this form. And I know, for example, you're a big fan of Bloodsoaked Champion.
I am.
And I am as well. I feel like that is a really aggressive card that people could be playing. So perhaps people find a home for that. Now, here is the range that you did mention. You get to choose target land you control. It's an 01. Nailed it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
And the art's pretty close.
Yeah, I got to confirm, man, that
Okay.
you're right about this, because I'm not familiar with the Caribou range, a little before my time.
This is like a farmstead, except that you can keep the 01 around instead of gaining 1 life if you so choose.
Ah, okay. Got it. Your card knowledge never ceases to impress.
And this only works with Caribou tokens, mind you. So you cannot play that card alongside Mutavault and explore Caribou synergies. Doesn't work.
No changeling interactions.
No changeling interactions.
That's important. Clarification is key.
Right.
Caribou token, not just caribou.
Right. Too powerful. All sorts of Caribou out there. Don't want people sacrificing it to gain 1 life all over the place.
Sacrifice Mutavault. Judge. Illegal play. Can't do that.
Unless it got it updated via errata, which I doubt.
You think maybe they didn't worry about that one too much?
You know, they stopped doing power level errata a while ago, but it's one of those things. I don't know. We'll look at Gather in a little bit.
We're underway here in game number 2. Scythe Leopard is where Grebe's going to start. It's just a little 1-1 to start things off here for Grebe, but it can get a lot bigger pretty quickly.
The red-green landfall threats, their ceiling is a little bit lower than plated Geopede and step links, but their floor is a lot higher.
Yeah.
You're never in spots where you're attacking for 0 with the step links or attacking for 1 with a plated Geopede. When you have your crazy fetch land draws, these threats are a little bit less powerful, but they are more steady.
It's a slide runner on turn 2 there for Grebe. The thing with links and Geopede, the highs were very high and the lows were really low.
Yes.
These cards are now somewhere in between.
Having played a lot with both cards, I can confirm.
Yeah. Shambling Vent was land number 2 here for Thompson. He's got a Reeve Soul, which looks as though it's going to be a pretty popular removal spell in this brand new format. I know it's sorcery speed and it's got some restrictions on it, but Brad Nelson, a very big fan. Apparently Thompson is too. We'll see what land he wants to search for with the Delta. He'll go with the basic island. And now the slide runner's off the battlefield.
The critical thing, single black mana. It's something that you can cast early on in the game to protect yourself without really demanding too much out of the lands that you're fetching.
It's an Abbot at Carroll Keep. Outpost Siege of the Reveal. That's going to hang out in the exile zone for a while now. Oh, hey.
Abbot Landfall,
Yeah.
you're about to mention?
I was going to mention that.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Abbot revealing Outpost Siege, still not a thing.
Ravage Highlands, gain a life. That's a landfall trigger. Come across here for 2. Now here's a question. With Abbot, you exile Outpost Siege, right?
Yep.
And then you can't cast it, so it stays in exile. So a little processor action.
Potentially.
Yeah, you miss with an Abbot. I can take advantage of that with a card like Wasteland
The Strangler would be really good right now.
Hey, just saying. Just saying. Some subtle synergies there, or anti-synergies,
Yeah.
if you will.
Turn 3, a Wasteland Strangler here would be great. It would be a great follow-up. I think it's unlikely.
I think it's pretty unlikely as well. Just saying, there's some layers to this format that even we didn't think of until we've just seen it. Blue to Delta into Jace. There are no layers to Jace. It's just busted. Just incredibly good card. So we'll see what Grebe has to put together here on turn number 4. He's off to a pretty good start. Gerry off to a pretty slow start.
And I would be surprised if Grebe had left in much of his Wild Slash action. This Jace might be very hard for him to kill. And something just as innocuous as flashing back Reeve Soul, very good right now.
Well, there's another land. That'll power up the Scythe Leopard. Let's see how Grebe wants to attack. And he comes. Jace, of course, 0 power, so not a lot to worry about here.
And I think this may be a lethal attack coming in.
Excuse me?
I think Grebe's got 2 copies of if he has 2 copies of Atarka's Command in hand, this is a lethal attack. Each Atarka's Command is worth 5 damage, 3 damage to the player, +2/+2 on his creatures. Plus there's an Abbot in play, so those are 2 prowess triggers.
Plus there's a land to search.
Yeah,
Oh my.
Yeah, this is lethal, and this is actually lethal with some room to spare.
So he's going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire. He already had 1 landfall trigger, so here's another one. So the Leopard's a 3-power creature. The Abbot is 2, so that's 5. Atarka's Command, let's say Prowess is 6. 3 damage is 9. 10, 11. That's a lot.
Yeah, each
That's a lot.
Atarka's Command is worth 6 points.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage. That is showing the power of Atarka's Command. And Ryan Grebe has tied things up here against Gerry Thompson. That was a 4-turn game?
Yeah, that's turn 4.
Yeah, it's turn 4. Okay, landfall. And that didn't even seem like a great of a start for the landfall deck.
He got hit with a removal spell on 2, just had a side leopard, but Atarka's Command is a very powerful magic card.
His Abbott missed.
Yep.
Revealed an Outpost Siege, so that didn't really have an effect. So you're thinking, coming to that turn, if you're Gerry, all right, he's got a Scythe Leopard, which is a 1/1, and he's got a 2/1 Abbott. And I'm at 14.
And if you're in Gerry's spot, you're also not going to chump block with Jace that turn.
Absolutely not.
You just, if he's got 2 Atarka's Commands, he's going to kill you. And Grebe did. Now we go into game 3.
Yeah, I'm not chump blocking because I'm at 14.
Right.
So why would I chump block?
And there's a Reeve Soul in my graveyard. This Jace is going to be great.
Yeah. Okay, then. Fair enough. Atarka's Command, very good in this deck.
And
Jeez.
The red aggressive decks of the format do have to focus a lot more on the creatures now because Atarka's Command is so powerful, and a lot of the best burn spells have been cut out of the format. You've lost Lightning Strike, you've lost Stoke the Flames, so you're really looking at Wild Slash, Exquisite Firecraft, and Draconic Roar if you have some dragons being the reasonable reach spells. And so the deck has to be much more creature-centric. Unfortunately, these landfall threats fill in those gaps very nicely, but this is much more of a creature beatdown deck than getting a few shots here and there and then burn you out with Stokes and Lightning Strikes. Those cards have all gone.
All right, I'm impressed. So coming into this tournament, I didn't really know what to expect from the landfall deck, and already I can tell that I was wrong because this has looked very, very impressive. I mean, that's a turn 4 kill from a deck I did not expect to be able to kill on turn 4 because when I think of landfall, I think in the previous format with how powerful Lynx and Geopede were. And so my thought was, okay, these landfall cards are fine, but not great, and maybe a deck could work here. Well, I just saw a turn 4 kill, so.
And Retreat to Valakut, I think, we haven't seen that be a factor in these first 2 games, but that's also a real addition to these kind of strategies.
All right, well, Game 3 will be underway here in just a moment, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news. It's been revamped, and it's free to sign up for.
Yeah, all the best content from Star City Games, cultivated by Cedric Phillips here. Comes out every week and has a lot of information, some of it pertaining to the Open Series, like a summary of last week's events, plus a selected match of the week for you to watch. Plus, you get some exclusive deck lists and advice from some premium columnists and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, sign up is free at StarCityGames.com/newsletter.
Might be some information there about this Bring the Light deck that Gerry Thompson's playing this weekend. Or, truthfully, this landfall deck, this was way better than I thought it was going to be.
I believe Gerry did post his 75 in his article this week.
As he oftentimes does.
Yep. Not one really for concealing information.
No. No reason. He's an honest mage. Always just doing his thing, doesn't care if people know. So this 5-color Bring the Light deck, he did mention in his article this week that this is the deck I'm like 90% to play. There's a chance if something better comes along, I'll audible, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to play this. Here he is playing it. It's slow off the ground.
Yep.
No question. Most 5-color decks are, but once it gets off the ground, as we saw in game number 1, it's pretty tough to catch up against. And we'll see what happens here. He'll be on the play this game.
It's all the best cards that you want for a 5-color control deck. And you have a ton of flexibility. You don't get caught in spots, or you get caught in spots way less frequently, where you have the wrong answer for the wrong threat, because Bring to Light's going to allow you to find whatever you need at a moment's notice.
You see, this is the kind of deck that Gerry's playing that I think it's really going to flex its muscles against like an Obzon deck.
Yeah.
Some sort of mid-range deck. I think these matchups are going to be pretty tough for him, which he did address in what he wrote this week. Pretty aggressive decks like this are going to be pretty ugly to play against at times. Now, he does have some things that are good against them, Siege Rhinos and Radiant Flames, things of that nature, but given just what his deck's mana looks, given what the deck's mana looks like, he's just going to be off the ground kind of slow.
It's going to be hard, it's going to be hard to overpower this kind of deck because he's playing with 5 colors, all the best cards, and Bring the Light for a ton of flexibility. Usually these strategies are vulnerable to someone just going underneath them and killing them before they get much set up. And that's why Radiant Flames and Thompson sideboard is so important.
Bloodstained Mire is where Thompson will start as game number 3 is underway. Both players will keep 7 cards. And Grebe with a Windswept Teeth and a Scythe Leopard. Thompson will sacrifice his fetch land. Both players going to fall down to 19. And Grebe, however, the first to the board. Gerry going to get his mana worked out. He's going to search up a Sunken Hollow. What's going to be really fun for me to watch, too, is just what lands players search up on the opening turns of the game.
This is really hard to do.
It's super difficult.
I mean, I played, in Modern, I played a 5-color Zoo list at a couple Grand Prix. Fetching for the right duels was the hardest part about playing that deck. And this is so much more complicated. The implications are much more extreme if you mess it up. Also, there's only 5 dual lands to choose from, not 10. So it's more sensitive setting that all up.
It's a copy of Duress. We'll find a Wild Slash and Undergrowth Champion. Slash is the only option. Abbot of Carroll keeping a couple lands here. There's an Evolving Wilds, a mountain, and it looks like a wooded foothills there for Grebe.
I'm a little surprised to see Undergrowth Champion here in Grebe's deck post-board. Seems like a threat that's very easy for Thompson to contain with things like Reef Soul, Murderous Cut, Languish, and so forth. If I'm Grebe, I want to focus on speed. Trying to stay with Gerry later on in the game, I think that's going to be very hard to do. Outpost Siege, I don't mind, because it's hard for Thompson to get off the board, but I don't want 3-mana threats that are easy for Thompson to kill.
Canopy Vista is the follow-up land there for Thompson. We head back Grebe's way. There's a Wooded Foothills. He'll sacrifice that. So Leopard will be attacking for 3 this turn. Let's see what land Ryan wants to search up. He'll go with the mountain. Gerry will tap the Leopard for him.
Let's not fool ourselves. We know this is coming in.
Let's get this part over with. I know you don't have a haste threat. So I'll take my 3, fall down to 16. Now here's Abbott. Top card is a Slide Runner. Of course, can't cast that. Just wants to get to the board with the Abbott, pass the turn back. Abzan Charm, the draw here for Thompson. Windswept Heath in hand. One of the things to keep in mind, too, about these 5-color decks is you have to play a lot of fetches to make the mana work. So in a weird way, you're kind of starting the game off at like 17.
It's not quite as extreme as Modern, where people, you're fetching for Watery Grave on turn 1 and taking 3. But these little pieces of damage do add up. And that's another incentive to play something like a red-green beatdown deck, red-green landfall, and so forth.
Basic Forest off the Heath and a Fenza on the battlefield here for Thompson, looking to stabilize a little bit as he's at 15.
Got to make a quick check on the lands, and we got green, and then white, and then black. We're good.
Good to go. So for Grebe, we know his hand is pretty land heavy at this point. There's a forest, that'll trigger landfall. And now here's the Undergrowth Champion. See if Thompson has a 4th land to play here. The Champion, great in big creature matchups.
Great against aggressive red strategies.
Yep.
But this kind of matchup, I don't think it's very well suited.
Well, unfortunately for Thompson, no land to play. Does have an Abzan Charm in hand, however. And that's part of the problem with the Champion. Abzan Charm, a very clean answer that Gerry can cast to take care of it.
Mm-hmm. And Gerry's not really dealing damage in this kind of matchup.
No.
He's containing creatures with sweepers and spot removal spells.
Evolving Wilds to land there for Grebe. That'll grow the Champion and the Leopard. 3/3 and 2/2 respectively. Thompson playing a lot of lands in his deck this weekend, but
I think everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are going to be doing that. Grebe is playing 25.
that's quite a few for an aggressive deck.
And he has nothing in his main deck that costs more than 3 mana. He's doing this because your deck's all landfall threats.
Yep.
You have a lot of hedges against flooding out, and you need to make your land drops to make these threats worth very much.
An aggressive deck that gets to play a lot of lands, that's the kind of world I want to live in.
Yep.
Looks like he's going to go with Encase and Ice. That'll slow down the Champion.
Another bad card for Undergrowth Champion.
Yeah. Champion not making a great debut here.
No. I think there are matchups where this card's going to be great. This is just not one of them.
It appears Forest may have been the draw here for Thompson. He does have 2 of those in his main deck. He's going to play an Abzan Charm right now. Pay 2 life to draw 2 cards. This is one we've been seeing for quite a few months here. 2 Flooded Strands to draw. But he's dealt himself quite a bit of damage this game. There's a Flooded Strand, pass the turn back. Grebe's still with quite a few lands in hand at this point. He would love to find a card like Return to Valakut right now.
That'd be a big help.
It'd be absolutely fantastic.
You can see he's leaving as many lands back in his hand as possible to set up that or some other landfall card should it happen to be drawn.
Yeah, you get to walk this kind of weird tightrope with the landfall decks where is it correct for me to hold lands or is it correct for me to play lands? That's one of the things that happen in old Zendikar with the landfall threats.
You want to make sure that you can cast and put to good effect any card that you top deck while leaving as many lands back where if landfall should turn out to be the thing that you need, you have as much to fuel that as possible.
He's going to play another fetch land there in Windswept Heath. Leopard will grow up into a 2/2. Undergrowth Champion will grow a little bit as well, but nothing for Grebe to do. So he's just going to pass. Thompson, not going to use that Flooded Strand just yet. Looks like he's going to use it in the upkeep. So is it basic? or is it Battle Land?
I would imagine that it's a basic here because there's no battle land he can get that appreciably fixes his mana. He can't get red mana off of a Flooded Strand, but getting another basic means that every dual land that he wants to fetch or happens to draw for the rest of the game comes into play untapped. This is my best guess. I'm sort of learning as I go here, but if the Flooded Strand could find red, I think that would be different, but since it can't, you might as well get a basic.
Well, basic it is. It's an island. The draw for the turn was a Prairie Stream for Thompson. So missing red mana at this point. That's the only thing missing.
That's another complexity with these. Like I said in Modern, your fetches for the most part will find any duel that you want.
Yep.
There's only 5 duels here. And there's only 5 fetches.
Yep.
So it's much more complicated to set it all up.
Prairie Stream was the land. And when we head back Grebe's way, Anafense is doing a great job on defense here. 5-color deck being able to cast that on turn 3 is pretty impressive. But all it takes is a card like Return of Valakut to turn this game around here for Grebe, and he may have drawn one. And he has. So Return of Valakut is making its debut now.
This is the big landfall payoff that's not a creature for these red-green landfall strategies.
Yep.
Both modes very good, and they're good in different spots. The flexibility is great. When you're just racing, +2/+0 is awesome. And when you need to punch through a blocker like this, well, the second mode is as good and straightforward as it's going to get.
This is going to be a lot of damage, I think. So Wooded Foothills is going to come down. That's going to make it so that Anafenza can't block this turn. It's also going to trigger landfall on the Scythe Leopard.
And there's an Evolving Wilds and 2 fetch lands in play.
Yep. Well, Encase in Ice is going to come down right now to shut down the Leopard, which I think is pretty smart. Now here comes the Abbot. We'll see how much damage the Abbot wants to deal, because right now it's a 3-power creature because of Return to Valakut.
Right.
Grebe can make it a lot more than that, but he's not going to, because Thompson is representing a removal spell. Now, I don't know if it's appropriate to move in or not. Hard to say.
I don't mind this line from Grebe here, because if Thompson taps out for a blocker, then Grebe has enough fetch lands to make multiple things unable to block and still be able to pump the Abbot if he's feeling so inclined. If Thompson does nothing, he can just attack for a couple points of damage a turn. Try to bleed out the removal spell.
Thompson's draw for the turn was Bring the Light. Now, what does he want to search for with that? Who knows?
And Thompson did have enough mana did have the right mana up last turn to cast an Abzan Charm.
Yep.
So there was some risk there in Grebe making a big push with the Abbot.
Abzan Charm and a bevy of other spells.
Yep.
Who knows what else would be available there? There's Flooded Strand. Here's Bring the Light.
I can only do this for 4, keep in mind.
Correct. That's Siege Rhino territory. That's territory for a lot of other stuff too, I imagine.
Could just be a removal spell for either Abbot or Return to Valakut.
Very true. Looks like Sultai Charm might be the weapon of choice here.
Which could also answer either the Abbot or Return to Valakut.
So Sultai Charm is going to be searched up. It's got that naturalized mode, of course. And that's going to take care of Return to Valakut, the card that was causing a lot of problems there for Thompson.
Yeah. Now Thompson can still sit back. He's got 4/4 against a 2/1.
Now, the big question here, if you're Gerry, is how exactly am I going to turn the corner? Because I haven't got to start attacking yet. I'm doing a pretty nice job of stabilizing the game, but no attacking just yet. Now, if another Return to Valakut shows up, he might be dead.
Oh, I think that he's almost certainly dead. I mean, there's still the risk that Thompson could fetch up a Sunken Hollow and Murderous Cut, your last threat, et cetera, et cetera. But if Grebe were to draw Return to Valakut here, I think he would just go for the kill.
Yep. Looks like Scythe Leopard. Yep, that was the draw for the turn. Grebe with a Tarkus Command and land in hand.
Yeah, I don't like an attack here very much. Next turn, it gets attractive. I think for now, Grebe's better served just waiting for next turn. He can draw another copy of Atarka's Command or another copy of Retreat to Valakut, both of which are just great here.
Thompson going to fall down to 8 from the Flooded Strand. See what he wants to search up now. He'll go with a mountain. Excuse me, with a plains, pardon me.
Yep. Lots to keep track of.
I know.
The mana's going to be a lot of learning for us.
It's a brand new world out here. All right, now Thompson will draw. Still without red mana. Picked up a swamp for the turn. A copy of Ruinous Path in hand.
Aha.
That might be attractive to cast.
All right, and it's at this point, it's both things Gerry's in the market for, which is more threats and more answers.
And he will cast it with Awaken. So now, Ruinous Path and Awaken making their debut. Now make the land into a 4/4. Now he might have some interest in turning that their corner.
I mean, he can attack and put a counter onto the land because it is tapped.
We'll take a look. We'll take a look at Anafenza. I think
Anafenza is attacking?
I think it's attacking creature. It's been a minute. Another tap. Jeez, look at you. Look at you. Yeah, that thing could be a 5/5. You're on top of it.
I think it's better for Gerry to wait here because he easily get killed on the way back.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Again, good to know.
Yep.
Good to know these things.
Just more small little things. Undergrowth Champion, another counter. Just a little bit bigger, even though it's stuck in some ice right now. Abbott revealed a land there, of course. Gerry's hand right now, I believe, land and languish. Here comes the Abbott.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm blocking. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, if you got something and I don't block, you might kill me, so I guess I'll block.
Sacrifice a fetch land. Grebe going to fall a little bit lower. We'll see what land he wants to search up.
A block here is a little bit painful for Thompson because next turn you're going to set up attack with both, turn my land into a 5/5, and then languish, which is a great setup.
Yep.
But I think that Gerry just can't afford to take this hit.
No, I don't think he can either. And this is part of the reason why. Atarka's command is so powerful that I think he just has to block in this situation. That's exactly what he's going to do. So these creatures are going to trade.
And even though this doesn't look great, I like this play from Grebe here a lot because Thompson could easily be sitting on languish, and if you just say go, then he ruins you next turn when he goes to make his attack.
Yep. Thompson's draw for the turn. Well, it's a Planeswalker from the new set. Not sure which one it is, but we know it's a new one. All right, it's Jace.
Which is good for Thompson because he's out of forest. He's only got 2 in his deck.
Very true.
So Nissa would not be as good.
Yep. There is Jace. Pass the turn back, threatening to flip the very next turn. Looks like Outpost Siege may have been the draw. And it is. However, Thompson, we can't forget, does have a copy of Soultide Charm in the graveyard that can take care of that Outpost Siege once Jace does flip. So not that big of a problem. That 4/4 land, playing some nice defense here. Was unclear how much we would see Awaken play a role in things in this brand new format. Certainly Ruinous Path. There are some that are a big fan, others that are not. But looks to be pretty good here. Radiant Flames was the draw for Thompson. He's going to start by activating Jace, take a draw step. Bring to Light was the draw.
And Thompson still without red mana.
Might be time to maybe let that Flames go.
I don't think he needs an 8th land at this spot. The upside on Radiant Flames is still high enough that I would hold on to it, especially with Thompson having a 4/4 in play. I wouldn't give up on it just yet.
Well, he's going to discard Languish. That's the card he's going to give up on. Jace is going to tick down. Soultide Charm is going to get flashed back. Get that Outpost Siege out of here. Cannot let that thing get to work. Let's see what the follow-up is. It's a forest. Oh, all right, that land can tap for mana. See, that's neat.
Okay.
Not just a blocker. Going to let him cast Bring to Light.
I believe we'll see. Oh, no, he's passing through a Siege Rhino. I would have just assumed that was the one to go get.
Well, he's got something else in his mind, it appears. No, okay.
Okay, never mind.
He'll go with Siege Rhino.
That's like, Rhino seems crazy. I know.
Up to 8, Grebe down to 14. We're going to go back Ryan's way now. Thompson now finally starting to turn the corner. Windswept Heath was the draw here for Ryan. Not very helpful. One of the things we can't forget, too, Jace's ability to flashback cards like Bring to Light.
Mm-hmm.
That's very powerful stuff. Undergrowth Champion will grow yet again. But Grebe's just going to have to pass a turn back. I can't imagine any good attacks here for Ryan. Thompson will take a draw step. He picked up another flip Planeswalker.
Identity as of yet to be not determined.
It is unconfirmed, the identity. Looks like Rhino's got some interest. All right, we're attacking with maybe both. Yep, Gerry looking to turn the corner and close this one out now. Eight damage will come across. This is another copy of Jace.
Just a chump blocker,
Yep.
which justifies Thompson going on the aggressive here, because if he left himself with no blockers back, there's a lot of mixtures of cards. Return to Valor could become immense and change, could kill him, but with a chump blocker back, this is pretty safe.
Grebe going to fall down to 5. Get a Cinder Glade out of his deck. The champion grows yet again. And we'll see if Ryan's got a draw step to get him out of this situation. He's in a pretty bad spot right now. Keep in mind the Abbot has been powered down a little bit as well because of the Jace ticking up, giving it -2, -0. So its base power this turn is 0. Wild Slash the draw, not lining up particularly well right now or in this matchup. Slash is going to go after Jace. Trigger Prowess. But it looks like he doesn't want to do any attacking here, which is understandable. Ryan will take a look at the graveyard here. Might want to just go after Jace, but if he does that, then he dies on the way back. So it's a rock and a hard place here for Grebe. Well, he will knock Jace down to 2.
All right. Well, now he's dead on the way back. And he would be dead on the way back anyway, because if Thompson got the flashback or removal spell, he's got to ruin his path down there.
Yep. Obzon Charm the draw, that makes it even easier here for Thompson. He'll attack with both creatures, and that is going to do it. Gerry Thompson going to win this first match here this weekend in Indy over Ryan Grebe. 2 games to 1. 5-color Bring to Light will be in the sideboard soon enough with Nick Miller, I imagine, taking care of red-green landfall. But hey, great start to the day.
And it'll be interesting as the format evolves a little bit. We watch here in Indianapolis, Atlanta next weekend, the Pro Tour after that, what exactly the structure of these 4- and 5-color control decks look like, because the possibilities are really endless.